On a much more serious note, these allegations and the investigation into Diddy is getting really serious. We can put the first tear sheet up on the screen. This is CNN reporting. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a SOT, but CNN actually had an exclusive report showing that the DOJ is prepping to put Diddy in front of a grand jury. And that's going to be probably in relation, as CNN is reporting from sources, to sexual assault. But also now it's getting more serious because they're also investigating him for sex trafficking, for drugging, for money laundering, all of these new charges getting added. So after the CNN article ran, they did a quick announcement about kind of what their reporters have found on the air yesterday. Let's take a listen.
Since November, you'll probably remember that Combs has been named in 8 civil lawsuits, 7 directly accusing him of sexual assault.
The biggest escalation since those March raids on Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. We are now hearing that federal investigators are preparing to possibly bring witnesses in front of a federal grand jury in New York City. What we have heard is that possible witnesses have been notified that they could be called to testify. Now, sources do caution that investigators are still in the process of gathering information. In fact, they are still calling in new witnesses, and they have called in some witnesses multiple times. We also hear that the majority of the accusers who have filed these civil lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs have been brought in for questioning, and again, some of them being called in numerous times. We hear that many are cooperating and even handing over evidence that they feel could be relevant into this federal probe. Now, a spokesperson for Homeland Security did not respond to our request for comment about the presence of a grand jury, but they did confirm that this investigation is presently ongoing. So, as I mentioned, those federal raids that were conducted on his homes back in March, obviously a lot of people wondering what was seized. Well, we are learning now that federal investigators are in possession of video footage that was taken inside of Combs's residence. We hear that these investigators have been contacting individuals that they have seen on this footage. One person, in addition to the accusers who have filed these civil suits, is a male sex worker. That is what a source tells me, and that they have been brought in for questioning through these federal investigators. Now, when the raids first happened, we had a law enforcement source tell us at CNN that the investigation was largely based in sex trafficking, which is what HSI specializes in. Now we are hearing that that scope has been widened and that investigators are really looking into all of these claims put forth in these civil lawsuits. That would include not just sex trafficking, but also money laundering and illegal drugs. I have a source who tells me, quote, "This is much bigger than just these lawsuits."
And it's actually much bigger than just Diddy. I think that's a really important point that we alluded to at the beginning of the episode. We're talking about a billion-dollar empire. And so in a lot of ways that the early iteration of the Me Too movement brought in complicit corporations, basically in all of these suits. It's not just Diddy that's named. It's relevant companies. It's affiliated companies. He was obviously, he's known for being not just a successful musician, but for turning that into a successful business career. And so it's looking very possible that a lot of people were complicit, that were knowledgeable. I know a lot of people have made great points about the warnings that other celebrities who had seen the victimization themselves were making over the years that were ignored by culture and by other people in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry. And I think there's more to come on that. But it's pretty worth our time to think about the DOJ now, after those searches on his homes, both in LA and Miami back in late March it was, they are now looking into, as the CNN reporter said, sex trafficking, money laundering, drugs. There are, as I think we heard from the CNN reporter, video. Investigators are looking at video tapes that were recovered from Diddy's house. And as they talk about the male prostitute, they talk about what actually is related in the investigation to being on the tape that people from the tape have been questioned in relationship to what's on the tape, and that they're creating, or they're trying to create, a, quote, bulletproof indictment, according to the CNN report. So a bulletproof indictment is much easier to have when you have actual video evidence and you're able to talk to the people that are involved in it. Now, Diddy has not commented, like CNN, the CNN reporter you just saw, she's been kind of a scoop machine on this beat for months. And Diddy has not commented to CNN on any of this new stuff. People obviously will remember that he vehemently denied the allegations as they've come out. He's had 8 civil suits filed against him since that one was settled with Cassie Ventura right away. I mean, he settled that suit, what, 24 hours?
Yeah,
and
after she filed it, it was instantaneous.
Speaking of which, speaking of video, we now know that a hotel was allegedly paid $50 grand for that horrific video we covered here on the show of Diddy beating the heck out of Cassie. And that was from 2016, and it just came out, earlier this month, in 2024.
Yeah, and after it came out, then he apologizes. Prior to that, he had denied absolutely everything. And yeah, we're talking about allegations that span decades. As you said, 8 separate civil suits filed at this point. The videotape, that CNN is reporting on here is very noteworthy. Some of the allegations against him is that he had filmed people having sex without their consent. So question mark if that's part of what's contained on this videotape. We don't know if it was part of what was seized in these raids or if they were able to obtain it through some other means. But some of the allegations are that he was drugging victims and then raping them. Some of the allegations are of the sort of violence that we saw on camera with Cassie. So the picture that is coming into focus here is incredibly far-reaching, and you don't have that long of a pattern with that many people over that many years without having other people know and be involved. And he was protected for so many years. He was protected. And, finally now things are starting to come out. And it's also worth noting that kind of what was the watershed moment with regard to any and all of this. There have been like whispers and rumors and podcasts, et cetera, like you said, some little warnings. But when this really burst into the public was when Cassie filed her suit. And that was made possible by that New York law, where they opened up, there's a statute of limitations in New York, and they said, we're going to have this limited window where people whose sexual assault allegations, where the statute of limitations has expired, can file civil, not criminal, civil suits for basically like a year's worth of time. And that enabled Cassie to be able to file this suit. It was in the context of that law. And then that opened the floodgates for all of these additional civil suits. The reporting from CNN indicates that the federal investigation really took those civil suits as a starting point for where they began to investigate. And now we're at the point where it looks like a grand jury is being impaneled, and some of the survivors or alleged survivors here may be called to testify about what happened to them, what was done to them, and what they know.
I'm usually, inherently skeptical or reflexively skeptical when the feds start cobbling together drug cases, money laundering cases, but the video is so powerful. And the testimonies of women that have been coming out in the last, half a year are just so powerful that, and knowing, by the way, that they have tapes, more tapes, that this tape existed, that it was sat on since 2016. Some of these suits, like the Lil Rod suit, named Cuba Gooding Jr., implicated other celebrities. This is obviously a very bad situation for Diddy's future as a free man, because these are incredibly serious. Some of them go back decades, but also some of them are super recent, like the one that names his son and names him as, this was from a yacht worker, actually, being a party to the abuse. That's very recent stuff. We're talking within the last couple of years. It's revenge porn, stuff that's, as you mentioned, videotaped assaults, allegedly. So if they're leaking to CNN that they're putting together a, quote, bulletproof indictment, these videos support the case that it's actually likely they've got something pretty serious on him.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about this that I think is worth noting is part of, I mean, that Cassie video, if you guys watch, it's just unbelievable. I mean, psychopathic. Like, he's a monster.
Yep.
I mean, there's just no denying it looking at that video.
Yep.
But what was also really noteworthy is she had described in the civil suit she filed that specific interaction bit by bit. But I mean, it was identical. What she described was identical to what was reflected on the video, which gives a lot of credence to everything else she had to say.
Totally. And they settled, remember, amicably. That was the quote, with no admission of wrongdoing on Diddy's part. It happened really quickly, but that's the power of money, is that you can get people to settle, quote, amicably with no admission of wrongdoing within 24 hours, even when a video like that exists and you know it.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff, and definitely one to keep an eye on. Thank you, Emily, for filling in. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Here.
It's so much fun.
Worked out well since you're the Diddy expert now, since you dug in on the Cassie videos. I'm glad to have you to break all of that down.
We should have Mac do all rap segments in the future.
Absolutely. He's our senior rap correspondent.
Oh, perfect. We should put that on business cards for him.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I'm just going to say one more time, if you're having any issues, premium subscribers with locals, support@locals.com. Email them, CC breakingpointspremium@gmail.com. We will get whatever problem you're having. We'll get it figured out, straightened out for you. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support as we make this transition, which we are really excited about what it's going to mean for the future. Sagar will be back next week. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you then.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.